You know that feeling when you pick up a device and it just feels right? Like someone finally listened to what you actually wanted. That's exactly what happened when I got my hands on the ROG Xbox Ally. This isn't just another Windows handheld trying to be everything to everyone. This is Microsoft's answer to a question we've been asking for years, or at least I have. What would a portable Xbox actually look like? Here's the thing. Xbox isn't just making consoles anymore. They're building an ecosystem, and this device is their boldest move yet to bring that ecosystem everywhere you go. The ROG Xbox Ally solves problems that have plagued handheld PC gaming since day one, and it does it in a way that feels unmistakably Xbox. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't what you think it is. So let's get real about what you're actually buying here. The ROG Xbox Ally isn't a handheld Xbox console that plays Xbox games natively. This is a Windows 11 PC that happens to have Xbox branding and a really good Xbox experience built on top. You're getting access to Steam, Epic Game Store, and yes, Xbox Game Pass for PC, but through Windows, and again, not through native Xbox hardware. So there are actually two models launching: the standard ROG Xbox Ally that I've been testing here, link down in the description if you want to check it out for yourself, and the more premium ROG Xbox Ally X with beefier specs. I have a video on that one coming shortly, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. But today we're focusing entirely on the standard model, the one that I think most people will actually consider buying in the long run. Now, the pricing is fascinating when you think about Xbox's broader strategy. They just hiked Game Pass prices across the board, upsetting a huge section of their fan base. And now they're asking you to pay significantly more than a Series S console for the privilege of taking Xbox on the go. And this isn't targeting your typical Xbox console buyer, I don't think. This is Xbox making a play for the premium handheld market, going after people who want the absolute best portable gaming experience money can buy. So my first impression, this thing feels substantial. Not heavy, it's just solid. Like they took everything that makes an Xbox controller great and stretched it into a handheld form factor. The build quality immediately sets it apart from cheaper alternatives, and you can tell ASUS brought their A game to the hardware design. It is way more comfortable to use, especially for those long gaming sessions when compared to my Nintendo Switch 2 or the standard ROG Ally devices or other handheld PCs. But the real question is whether that premium feel translates to premium performance and experience. And that's where things get pretty interesting. Let's start with what we'll be staring at for hours: the display. This 7-inch 1080p IPS panel running at 120 Hz with 500 nits of brightness and FreeSync premium support is genuinely impressive. The moment you fire up a game, you notice the difference. That 120 Hz refresh rate makes everything feel buttery smooth, whether you're navigating menus or in the middle of fast-paced action. The brightness is crucial for handheld gaming. At 500 nits, you can actually see what you're doing in bright environments, which sounds basic, but so many handhelds fail at this. The colors pop, the contrast is solid, and FreeSync Premium eliminates that annoying screen tearing that can ruin the experience. Now, one thing I would have loved to see is HDR support, but that isn't on either of the Xbox Ally devices, unfortunately. But a great display means nothing if you can't comfortably hold the device, and this is where the ROG Xbox Ally absolutely nails it. These aren't the thin, cramped, frustrating grips you get on most handhelds. These are proper, contoured grips inspired by Xbox controllers, and the difference is immediately obvious. I mentioned it earlier, but when I use my Nintendo Switch 2 in handheld mode in particular, my hands will start hurting after maybe 15 minutes. And I love the Switch 2, but it just isn't comfortable for me to use on the go in handheld mode. The ROG Xbox Ally device is thicker than something like a Steam Deck or a Switch, but that thickness translates directly into comfort. Your hands naturally fall into the right position, and these Hall effect analog triggers feel exactly like what you'd expect from Xbox hardware. The impulse triggers, those little motors that provide localized feedback, at a level of immersion that most handhelds just completely skip. Now, I spent hours with this thing and never once did my hands cramp up or feel fatigued. That's huge for a handheld, and it shows that ASUS and Microsoft really understood the assignment here. Now, let's talk about what's under the hood. The standard Ally packs an AMD Ryzen Z2A processor with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigs of storage. So this isn't the top tier Z2 Extreme chip you'll find in the Xbox Ally X, but it's still a capable piece of silicon. In real world testing, I had Forza Horizon 5 running at around 40 to 45 frames per second with a mix of low and medium settings and FSR enabled. That's respectable performance for a handheld at this resolution. For indie games and less demanding titles, you're looking at a smooth 60 FPS gameplay without even breaking a sweat, and even much higher than that in a lot of cases. The key thing to understand is that this chip finds its sweet spot with mainstream gaming rather than pushing the absolute limits of AAA titles. Again, we're talking specifically about the Xbox Ally and not the Ally X here. But paired with the streamlined software experience, it delivers consistent playable frame rates where it matters most. Now, battery life. The 60 watt-hour battery provides realistic gaming sessions of around 2 to 3 hours for demanding games and stretching to 4 to 5 hours for lighter content. That's honest handheld battery life, not the inflated numbers some manufacturers throw around based on other metrics or idle time. Now, one major thing helping here is the streamlined way Windows 11 is handling the handheld gaming experience, so we should talk about that too. Because this is where the ROG Xbox Ally really starts to separate itself from every other Windows handheld on the market, at least for now. Instead of booting into the typical Windows desktop nightmare, you're dropped straight into this full screen Xbox experience that actually makes perfect sense for a handheld. And don't get me wrong, this is still Windows under the hood, but it does a great job hiding that fact. The moment you power this thing on, you're not dealing with desktop icons, taskbars, or hunting for the right launcher. You get a clean, controller-friendly interface that feels like a natural extension of the Xbox ecosystem. Everything is designed around gamepad navigation, which sounds obvious, but most Windows handhelds completely botch this basic requirement, and I assume that is Windows' fault, not the fault of the manufacturers. And what's happening behind the scenes is even more impressive. The streamlined Xbox UI is actually dumping all those unnecessary Windows background processes that typically eat up system resources. We're talking about the desktop window manager, random startup programs, and all the overhead that makes traditional Windows handhelds just feel sluggish. The result is better frame rates and improved battery efficiency across the board. Now, the nice thing about this is that this isn't actually confined to just the ROG Xbox devices. If you have a Windows handheld, you'll be able to update it with this exact same software experience without needing to purchase an Xbox Ally. Now, the most important part of a gaming handheld is going to be the games. When it comes to the games, your game library pulls in titles from places like Steam, Epic Game Store, and Xbox Game Pass for PC automatically once you set them up. But here's the catch. You still need to install those other launchers in desktop mode first. It's not as seamless as Microsoft's marketing might suggest, but once everything's configured, having all your games in one unified library is genuinely convenient. The Xbox app integration feels native in a way that other handhelds can't match. Quick Resume works exactly like you'd expect. Game installations are straightforward, and the store experience doesn't feel like an afterthought. This is also where Xbox Play Anywhere becomes genuinely magical. I started playing Hollow Knight on my Series X here at home. I figured I'd play that before starting Silksong, then picked up exactly where I left off on the Xbox Ally while traveling. Save synchronization is instant, achievements carry over seamlessly, and your friends list follows you everywhere as you'd expect. It's the kind of ecosystem integration that makes you realize why Microsoft is pushing into handheld gaming. Game Pass subscribers get immediate access to their entire library without jumping through hoops. Cloud gaming works, I wouldn't say flawlessly, but it works when you need it. And the transition between local and cloud play is pretty smooth, smoother than any other handheld I've tested. But we need to be honest about what you're not getting. As I said earlier, this is not a native Xbox handheld, and that comes with a fundamental limitation despite Microsoft's "This Isn't Xbox" campaign. You can only play Xbox games that are also available on PC. If a game is a true Xbox console exclusive, like a disc-based title or a game that simply hasn't been ported to the Windows platform, it will not be playable on the Xbox Ally. You're getting the Xbox experience through Windows, which is impressive, but comes with those inherent limitations. The software experience is the best implementation of Windows on a handheld I've ever used, but it's still Windows underneath. Occasional driver hiccups, launcher conflicts, and the need to occasionally drop into desktop mode reminds you that this isn't as polished as a dedicated console experience like you'd see on the Nintendo Switch. The ROG Xbox Ally delivers on its promise of a high-value, comfortable, and powerful portable PC gaming experience. This device is a strategic play by Xbox to expand their user base beyond home consoles. The price point of $599 is significantly higher than a Series S, positioning it as a high-end option for the dedicated Game Pass subscriber. And remember, this isn't even the top tier device. The ROG Xbox Ally X is the true premium option with its Z2 Extreme chip and bigger battery. My video on that one is right around the corner. The ROG Xbox Ally is the handheld you've been waiting for if you're deep in the Xbox ecosystem, especially as a Game Pass subscriber, and want the best way to casually play on the go. Thanks for watching as always, guys. I appreciate your support. I'm Andrew Edwards, and I will catch you in the next video.